You can absolutely conquer whatever it is you choose to confront. In this show, we talk PTG, we listen and believe, we support and empower.
Hey, that's what I always dreamed of, but I was nervous sometimes.
Yeah.
Each time I moved a little closer and a little closer
Yeah.
and a little closer,
Yeah.
and some told me, just take a leap of faith.
There you
Go ahead,
go.
let's jump.
Ready? Let's go. Leap of faith. There you go. Whoa.
Whether you have experienced domestic violence personally or not, someone you know has. Your circle of family, friends, acquaintances, 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men will experience domestic violence at some point in their life. Physical abuse is only one of the many forms of domestic violence. Survivors also report experience of verbal, emotional, spiritual, sexual, financial, electronic, and so much more. Domestic violence does not discriminate. It can leave you traumatized and devastated, mentally, emotionally, financially. You can find yourself homeless, jobless, helpless. The list can go on. There's blankets of insecurities, triggers, doubts, and other residual effects that become hurdles that impact our life as we do our best to move on. Many people associate butterflies with a sense of freedom. We've been taught along the way to focus on the transformation that takes place inside of the cocoon. I invite you to take a moment to conceptualize all the odds the caterpillar was up against and needed to defeat in order to get to a safe place, to build its cocoon and actually experience the transformation. My name is A. Garcia. I am a mother and survivor of a double attempted homicide. Now, I'm dedicating my life to take yours to the next level by experiencing post-traumatic growth to begin a new chapter in your life. Let's get started on this journey together. Here with Confronting Domestic Violence. This is a prompt interview / conversation. Actually, more conversation than interview. This is Miss Sassi, okay? We're gonna start there. We have heard about each other through so many individuals that we have personally encountered in our journey, which happens to be the same journey. That's how we're coming across the same people. And we have heard about each other almost every step of the way. And today we finally connected after over a year of attempts. And we decided not to have a conversation about anything until we got here and just did an impromptu. So we are just now meeting for the first time. And we are going to cover some serious things. When I say things, I mean like layers upon layers that you might be shocked. This is not anything that you have seen on this platform ever. Miss Sassi, come on in.
Oh, honey, you are awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much. If I had the second hand, I'd be giving you my little prayers here, but I'm holding a phone because it is impromptu. I absolutely love it. Thank you for having me. This. I can't wait. Let's get started. Let's go. Let's go, girl. Let's go.
Okay, tell me, okay, I just invited you to something that I'm doing on Saturday on a virtual reality platform. I can't believe it. That's like the next world, literally, like a whole nother world already, but the next level in the world. I have no idea what to expect. It's super exciting. I'm happy to be sharing the stage with you. So we just want to open up and share anything.
All right, great. Let's see. Okay, you want to know about all my abuses? Let's see. Do you want to know about being shot in the head? Do you want to know about all the trauma that I've gone through? Not only having a narcissistic father, an abusive second husband. Obviously, he was the one that shot me in the head. Meeting Archangel Michael, my healing journey. Sassi, where does that come from? What does it stand for? Survivor, the 3 stages of abuse. Stop me when you want to talk, girl, because I got a lot. Yeah. Okay. So that's the thing. That's what you and I do, is that no matter how much of that trauma and all that BS that we went through, look at us. Okay, and that I know is the message that you two try to get across. I know I do, is to let that woman out there that is still in stage one. She's in survival mode. She thinks she's all alone. She doesn't know where to turn to. She doesn't know who to turn to let her know that it's okay. She's not alone, that she's not, and I don't want to say she's not different, but just that she doesn't have to go through it alone. And that's one of the things that I know you do it here. I'm so happy to say I'm gonna put it out there. I'm finally starting my own podcast. It is called Talking Sassy About Abuse, Amplifying Women's Voices. We really dig deep, just like you, on the traumas, the past, the history, but not to dwell on it, to heal from it, to get better from it, to, as I say, Sir Thrive.
Sir Thrive. That's a journey from survival to thriving.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. That's exactly what it is. We don't just survive all that we went through, whether it be childhood trauma and everything else in between and up to, and the marriages and the relationships, but we thrived from it. We took that, you and I both, okay, and this is living proof of that, okay, that we took all those traumas and those abuses, and myself being not just the physical abuse, but the emotional, the psychological, the sexual, the verbal, the every abuse possible. And I took all that, and you did too. And we learn from it, we grow from it, we heal from it. We, one of my, in my signature program, 7 Steps to Sassy, the 7th step is to help that next woman, help her, that next woman of abuse. And okay, so that's one of the vernaculars that I am working really hard to change. Okay, we're not abused women, we are women of abuse. If you say them, okay, an abused woman makes it sound weak, that it was our fault, that we had no control, that all those negatives. But I don't know about you, but I'm a woman of abuse. And I'm not taking and living in that abuse, and I'm not living in those times. It doesn't define who I am. It was who I was, but it helps change. If I change that vernacular, it helps other women understand that connotation behind it, that it was not our fault. It wasn't our fault.
So let's start there, because I do some, like, what I think are semi-formal presentations every now and then, and I have a time capsule, and this goes back to 1641. Okay, 1641. We have been fighting for rights and change and all kinds of assistance, of anything available to protect and have resources to provide. And for over 350 years, we just continuously are raising awareness. And like you said, fighting for and fighting to help that next person.
Yes.
Because the statistics are not lying. They have been the same for, not even the same. During COVID, they increased immensely.
I know. And did you see the recent one that just came out? It's absolutely ridiculous. And that is part of my whole thing. Is I had somebody, anyway, the statistic is now at, it used to be 1 in 4. It's now 1 in 3. And I said to somebody, she said, what is your goal? And I said, to end abuse, plain and simple. She says, you'll never end it. And I said, oh, watch me. Because I do ruffle some feathers and blow some minds. Okay. I will make my mark and my legacy, that maybe not in my lifetime that it'll end, okay, but it will definitely start that ball rolling and start that path. And that is my goal, is to end abuse, because it's simple enough to end. It really is simple enough to end. If you break it down, we can end abuse. We have to teach women boundaries and what's acceptable, what is it, and then we have to take it that next step further and have that woman, because we can't, you and I cannot do it alone, okay, but if we educate the next woman and help her and teach her to help her and teach her children, boys and girls, what's acceptable, what isn't. Eventually, that snowball will get bigger and bigger till finally it will be ended. Abuse will end. Now, like I said, my lifetime or not, I can be hopeful, but
Yeah, I want to believe that.
I
I want
know.
to believe that. Think about how many bills are submitted through legislation and how many actually get passed that are
I know,
for
and you
privacy, public safety, privacy.
I know, and you just said 350 some years that we've been dealing. I know that, okay, but I gotta be hopeful. I have to be vigilant. I would like to remain optimistic.
Yeah, I hear you. Me too. That's what confronting domestic violence is about.
Yes,
What we do is we're a nonprofit and we help relocate real-time victims with children. As long as they have a safe place to go, we will help them get there. And I strongly believe that children are gravely impacted when when they don't feel safe at home, when they are not safe at
exactly,
home. And
exactly.
so I try to help stop it as well to the best of my ability. We're pretty early in our stage of growing. We've been 18 months out already. And yeah, and so really excited to be a part of that, to be a part of that positive strive to end
Yeah.
domestic violence. And once they relocate, I have also people who are willing to volunteer and donate their services to provide hypnotherapy to reduce the going back, to prevent going back, the cycle of going.
Yes, yes, yes. I don't know about you, but I did that
Oh,
once, but I did it. You
yeah, that's
know?
all. And you know what? When you're when you learn, you only do that once. You never do
Exactly.
that again.
Exactly. And that was even after being shot in the head from the same guy.
Yeah, let's talk
I let
about
it
that.
go. Okay.
Let's talk about that. So
All right.
who was it? Boyfriend, husband?
No, it was my husband. We met in 2011, 2012, married in 2013. The abuse does not, I'm going to say 9 times out of 10, and I'm just guessing here, but does not start out as physical. It is a lot of that gaslighting, the mental, the verbal. It escalated to where when the gunshot happened, that was 2015. When he came back, it was 2017. I finally had enough in 2018. And that's one of the things that I try and help women with is to break that long-term cycle, that it doesn't have to be that long, that we have that, which is where Sassi comes in. Okay, I call it Sassi, and Sassi stands for strong, assertive, smart, sexy, and independent. It's refer to it as your gut, your intuition, however you want to refer it. That's what it is. Every woman has it. It's just
Mm-hmm.
that it's a woman of abuse that hers almost gets extinguished. And when she comes out of that first stage of abuse and goes into stage 2 of abuse, that's where she goes, okay, who am I? Where do I go from here? What do I do? And that's when, with my coaching, we come in and I help with, let's figure that out. Let's find out who you are. What do you want to do? Where do you want to go? What is your path? You're guided somewhere, somehow. Let's figure it out. But anyway, so the gunshot that was an eye opener. That was impactful to say the least. And one of the questions that I always get asked, one of two questions. Okay, so the two questions that I get asked all the time is, did you seek medical attention? That's question number one. To answer, no, never did. And question number two is, I hope the SOB sitting in jail. Uh, no, not happening.
Okay,
Because
so wait, so my
go
question then, my question
ahead.
is, did you leave him? Was that the second time you guys got back together, or is that the reason you left him the first time?
No, I didn't even leave him after that. Okay. But I knew I know, right? I know. Well, because
Okay,
all
so
that,
which time was it? The first time or the second time then that you
when
were
he
with
came
him?
back, yeah, when he came back in 2017, nothing changed. The typical, I promise, honey, everything's different. I won't do it again. I won't hit you. I won't this. I won't that. Blah blah blah. And I fell for it because let's be honest here. Okay, he was my husband. There was a part of me that absolutely loved him. And that's hard. There's a grief that you go through when you have to acknowledge that, and it's a different grief, that you have to acknowledge that you can't be with this man anymore. That's hard. I love that man. I thought for sure he loved me. Okay. So taking him back just seemed the natural thing to do till you realize, okay, after everything that we've been through, nothing's changed. You know what, pal, you were done and get out. And that's where I found my voice. Okay. And that's one of the other things that I try and teach and help women with is that if you don't have your voice yet, let you and I, people like you and I, Agape, let use our voice so you can find your own through things like the platforms like this, through interviews that I give, through your nonprofit, all those wonderful things that we do. Let us be your voice so you can find your own, right? So no, he even though he shot me in the head, and like I said, that was in 2015. I ended up, as it turned out, I ended up in the hospital with 4 surgeries, 15 procedures. I am now a recovering alcoholic drug addict, almost 7 years. Actually, it is 7 years. In 2000, so the gunshot was 2015. I ended up in the hospital from 2016 in and out to 2017. In 2018, I don't, right? That's how bad things got. That's why the drinking got bad, the drug use got bad, because you're trying to cover every single pain that you're feeling, not just physical. And I ended up in the hospital. I looked up to a God I no longer believed in and said, okay, so we'll have to talk about suicide at some point if need be. But I looked up at a God I no longer believed in and said, either put me in the effing ground or put me in the hospital because this is no life to live anymore. I didn't realize there was a third option, and that was to get out and live my life the way I'm supposed to live.
Yeah. So what got you there?
When I got up the next morning and saw the dried blood and the hole in my head and a really big patch of hair gone, I looked in the mirror and I said, something's got to give. Something's got to give. Something's got to change. And like I said, it wasn't until 2000, after I was in and out of the hospital, I had 2 dogs at home. My kids had no clue what was going on. Like I said, young adults, they had their suspicions, but it's funny because I've talked to them since, and they were all like, we suspected there was something, but you're a pretty damn strong woman, Mom. What the hell happened? I was like, not in that relationship, I wasn't.
But they didn't hear him that night, the night that
This husband, it's not their father. It was my second marriage, so it was not their father. They were young adults. They lived on their own. They were in their mid 20s, thereabouts. So my eldest one was already married, had his own daughter. He lived on his own. The younger 2 children actually were staying with their father, my first husband. So he and I, the second husband and I, lived alone. There was nobody to know. There was nobody that, and as much as I swear the neighbors heard it, what he was really good at, being the narcissist, was firing off a gun every once in a while. So when the neighbors heard it, with the going off in my head, they just oh, it's just so and so doing his BS again. No cops were called. No intervention. No, Christine, are you okay? And how do you cover? It was tough. It was tough, but I managed to. But anyway, the next morning when I looked in the mirror and I saw all the dried blood on this side of my head, and I had really long hair, dried blood, the hole in my head, the hair gone, because it was point blank, like point blank. I was sitting on the toilet backwards. He's 6 foot tall, standing over me, point blank, with this 40 caliber gun. There is no reason whatsoever I should be here. Absolutely no reason I should be here, other than my angel stepped in and said, Not today, Christine. You got things to do. You've got things to take care of. You're on a path. You need to survive this. And I did. And I got up the next morning and was like, okay, I don't know how I'm getting out of this. I don't know where I'm supposed to go. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't know who to talk to. I was a 40-some-year-old woman. This doesn't happen, like, doesn't it? But I didn't know that back then. I just sucked it up and just had hope. That was the only thing that I had. And I think it was my angels that guided every step of the way from that point forward to where I am today. Everything from all the, and believe me, I've been through so much more even after him that I went, okay, whatever you guys are doing, I'm there.
Oh my gosh. So you never went to the hospital for your wound,
Nope.
and you just let it heal naturally on its own.
Yep.
The only time you went to the hospital was to recover from.
I ended up getting sick. I thought it was the flu, and vomiting, diarrhea, chills, sweat, fever, the whole 9 yards. And one of my youngest son actually came to me about a week later and said, Mom, if you're not better, I'm taking you to the hospital. As it turns out, I had raging infection going through my body. And when the surgeon actually did the first surgery was exploratory. And his thought was, because of where the pain was, he thought it was ovarian cancer. And of course, at that point, I'm going, I'd rather have cancer than have to live with that. Seriously, that's the kind of thoughts that go through your head. So he said, I'm not finding anything. I said, okay, what do you want to do? The surgeon said, can we open you up? I said, absolutely. I now wear a scar that's from the middle of my chest all the way down, almost 100 staples in me. They removed my gallbladder, my appendix, part of my colon, part of my intestine, and my whole left fallopian tube. Now, when my surgeon came back to me after I got out of recovery, the very first thing he said to me was, not how the surgery went, not that I'm okay, not what he found. The very first thing and the only thing he said to me was, Christine, if you take another drink, you will die. And I was like, oh shit. That's a theory I probably don't want to test. And as it turns out, I hadn't been able to drink anything with being so sick from vomiting, puking, being all this raging infection going through my body. I never took another drink, never drank another drop. Ended up getting addicted to pain pills in the meantime, because all that surgery. Okay. Managed to kick that, realize what was happening. So what happened was, because we went through all this surgery and recovery, and the first time that I was in the hospital, when I went into the hospital, I stayed in for 8 weeks because they did the exploratory surgery, then did the full-blown surgery. I had to recover from that. It took 8 weeks. I still had 2 dogs at home, a house to be taken care of. I couldn't kick this man out. I needed him. I really didn't want him at that point, but I needed him to take care of the house, to feed the dogs, to feed the cat. So he stayed in my life. Now,
Your kids wouldn't come over and take care of you in the
they
hospital,
did.
or the animals at the house?
My kids did. They had full-time jobs, so they were able to do. But you have to remember, he still lived at that house, even though it was my house. We lived together. He still lived at the house. It's not that his name was on the deed or the mortgage or anything, but it was our house. My kids would help out. In fact, my kids actually came to the hospital more times and longer than he did. I was lucky if I got to see that man. Now, he's still my husband, and I was still married to him. I was lucky if I got to see him maybe 4 days a week. And at that point, it was maybe 15 minutes. That was pushing it, because the girlfriend was calling him while I was in the hospital. And of course, I didn't find out any of this till after the fact, but that's the kind of shit they do. And excuse my French, I'm sorry. But I had to suck it up. I had to stick it out. I'm in the hospital. When I come home from the hospital, I need help with bandages. I had an ileostomy bag, not a colostomy bag, an ileostomy, the other one. Okay. I couldn't walk. I had nurses and PT coming in to take care of me. I needed his help to get me in and out of the bathroom, changed. And then I developed ascites, that is basically swelling of the body. Okay. Full blown, like every probably 7 to 10 days, I had to go back to the hospital to get my stomach drained from all the fluid that accumulated. It was not
So,
fun.
yeah, no, not at all. I have to ask you because if obviously the gunshot to the head was not an accident,
Nope.
and he did it in such a way that it would sound normal to his neighbors, and I I ask if that was violence a part of your relationship in general, like the whole time, first and second part?
It's funny. I'm glad you asked that. Okay. Because, like I stated earlier, so the physical did not start out right away in our relationship. Okay. And the only way that I can explain it is it's like a bell curve. Okay. The bottom of, if you can picture a bell, it'll go up a little bit. You'll get a little bit of the verbal abuse. You go, that's the first time. Maybe he did have a bad day at work. You still trying to figure out each other, and out of the blue, some of this stuff happens. Okay. So it wasn't physical at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then it would be things like just a smack upside the head. We were both big drinkers. You'd go, I was drunk, he was drunk.
That's what I
You
was
make
going, actually.
excuses.
Yeah, that's where I was going with it because when you had stated earlier, I just didn't want to assume and come across rude, but that's where I
Oh,
was
yeah.
going. I wanted to know if like the alcohol had a big play into it.
Absolutely, absolutely, without a doubt, without a doubt, like every day. And
Yeah,
that was the other thing that really played a big part, and that I don't think we talk about enough about. And that's what happened with the gunshot. Okay. Because I hated my life so bad. While I was sitting on that potty, on that toilet, I was begging him to end my life because there was no life to live anymore. I egged him on. I called him every name in the book. Pull that trigger, you mofo, everything that I could come up with. Okay. I wanted my life to end. And I egged and egged and egged and egged because I didn't want to live that life anymore. And that is a serious thought. That, in fact, even throughout that relationship, I attempted suicide with him 3 times.
with
Three
him.
times? Yes. While I was with him, I attempted it 3 times because that's how bad, not just the physical. Yeah, a gunshot wound will heal. I had a broken wrist. He beat me with a rubber mallet. I had bruises and a broken wrist,
Girl,
cracked ribs.
girl, 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 girl. Okay, and your kids did absolutely nothing. Like they did not come in and try to take him out or away or anything of the nature.
honey, honey, I hid that. I was embarrassed by that shame and guilt that we feel because I knew my kids knew, hey, mom's a pretty strong woman. She's a sassy woman. Absolutely, I was sassy even before I met this man. And in the marriage to their father, okay, and even our single days, my single days, absolutely. But to admit that, yeah, that was a little tough.
Yeah,
That was tough.
yeah. So when did you realize that this was like no more ever again? I am 100% done and I'm not looking back.
It was when he came back after I kicked him out in 2018. It was early 2018 in April. I said, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I'm pretty much healed. I can walk again. I can talk again. I can work again. He had isolated me through every part of our relationship and my friends, my family. So you got to remember that's part of the narcissist. So that's why my children, because he somewhat isolated me, and you don't realize it's happening because it's a slow, steady build on that bell curve. Okay. After all the surgeries, after the gunshot wound, after the healing, after my meeting, actually, no, I met Archangel Michael after I kicked him out the second time. He came back and I said, here's this deal. I said, and he was actually standing at the doorway. And he was trying to push his way in. And I said, I'm a little stronger now. I said, here's my terms. You will be treated as a roommate. You're going to pay rent. You will not beat my dogs. You will not talk down to my dogs. You will not talk to me like we're married anymore. You live in the spare room. You come and go as you please. Basically, we're not married anymore. You're just a roommate. It's the only way I'm taking you back. And of course, he was okay, I promise. 2 weeks later, same. A leopard never changes his spots. Okay, he will never change. He didn't want to change. So when I saw, I was like, this is not gonna work. Not happening. And we had a conversation and I said, this isn't working. As it turned out, this is how I know I have angels and guides. Okay. As it turns out, now I guess I should back up because when I kicked him out in 2018, 7 or 8 months had gone by. So I kicked him out in April. Now I knew what had happened was he went to go live with the girlfriend. She obviously got tired of his bullshit, okay, and kicked him out. He had nowhere to go but to come back to me. I didn't know this till after the fact. That was April. He came back to me in September. So however many months that was. And I had been doing okay. I actually went to work with my eldest son, doing some manual labor kind of work, whatever I could, because I couldn't count on him to give me any money to survive. Pay the mortgage, pay my phone bill, insurance, food, all the basics. So he came back in, like I said, September, October. Now, at the time, I lived in Florida. Hurricanes. My angels decided they saw what was happening. I just know, okay? So they had a hurricane hit the Carolina coast. And his ex sister-in-law said, hey, we could use your help up here. We got hit really hard. You do carpentry work. Why don't you come up here? So he ended up leaving. And I was like, that was the first time when he packed his bags and got things ready and took care of making sure I was okay. And it was the first time that I actually felt relief. Absolutely not a single tear was shed the day he left. In fact, I think I smiled. It was the first time that I finally felt free. And as it turns out, no lie, this is the narcissist in him. 8 days later, he calls me and says, I can't do it up here. I can't stand it up here. Please let me come back to you. And I said, sorry, not happening. You ain't coming back. No way. So he ended up leaving North Carolina, called me when he was like 2 hours away. And I said, you ain't staying here. The door is locked. You ain't coming in. Locks have been changed. Find someplace else. I'm not taking you back. I had finally had a taste of freedom from him, even 8 days. 8 days. Okay. That freedom, that first time that you can actually go and breathe and realize, you know what? Everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be all right. It's going to be tough. It's going to be one hell of a road. But if I can get through all that I got through, I can get through this. I can get through whatever life has in store for me because it's got to be a hell of a lot better than that.
Yeah. And so what happened? He respected that and just didn't come.
Oh, he still tried. He still tried. He pulled in the driveway, and I was like, I stood at the door with my arms crossed. I had it locked, bolted shut, had the locks changed, and went, no, bye. He's calling me on the phone. I didn't answer it. He's texting. I didn't answer. Nope. I stood my ground. So when I hear people out there say, oh, you need to set your boundaries, you need to set your boundaries. You know what? That's all well and good. But if you don't keep those boundaries and you move those boundaries, a man like what I was married to is going to walk all over them. I stood my ground. I felt good about it. It sucked without a doubt because there were a whole lot of question marks ahead of me. But here I am today. Like I said, that was 2018, 5 years ago,
Yeah.
6 years
Yeah.
ago now, almost. I'm not, I'm not rich. I'm not wealthy, but I don't want to be. Be, I want to help women heal. I want them to know that they're not alone. I want them to understand that there is a way, that it does get better. There are people like you and me that care, that can help them find help and food and jobs and lodging and room and board and whatever it takes. Don't stay. Get out. The very first inkling you have in your gut, in your sassy, in your intuition, get out. Because the roller coaster ride you're going to be on, it's not a good one.
Yeah, those are all facts. And that's what we'll talk about in just a second because I want to transition to it because in that transition to that journey from 2018 to today, the wisdom, the strength, the based on the endurance, what you're doing, how you're going about it, what was that click? What clicked in you that had you go over that bridge?
It's going to be totally out there. You're not even going to see this one coming. Okay. So I ended up I went into the whole social media marketing, SEO. I ended up having my own business for basically a business consultant. And I had almost every single one of my clients go, Christine, you really need to be a coach. You need to be a coach. You need to be a coach. Long story short, I took an on as it turns out, the universe, my angel sent me, I think it was like less than a week. I get this email. I don't even know who it was from. I open it. I'm like, oh, maybe this is a sign. Now by this time, and that was in 2021. Okay. I'm up here in Tennessee now. I had moved from Florida to up here, did it all by myself. I was happy. I sold my house down there. I got rid of, they teach you in AA, NA, and everything else to change your scenery. I left the state of Florida. So in 2021, I took this course, and about halfway through, as I'm still going, all right, I'll be a coach and I'll learn what I can, but I really want to be a business consultant. I want to be a business coach. Okay. As it turns out, we were in a breakout room doing just like a mock coaching session using what we were taught. And at the end, this woman that was in this breakout room with me, she says, Christine, I run a podcast. And now I had told a story of a very short one about some of the abuse I had gone through. I had never spoke about any of the abuse, certainly not like I am today. Okay. Never spoke a word to anyone about everything that I went through those 7 years. So through this coaching breakout room, we had to, I even forget what the exercise was, but I had told a story about some of the abuse that I went through. So she says, I have a podcast and I really think you would be great on it. I'm like, okay, I don't know anything about podcasts, not my thing. Okay. I do the podcast and I was like, oh my God, this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. I totally changed, shifted gears. Okay. Said, this is what I need to do. I need to teach about coaching. I need to help women. I need to speak loud. I need to ruffle feathers and blow some minds. This is where I'm supposed. Again, the universe just puts those things in front of us. And we either have to say, yeah, I'll tackle it, or some people tend to go off the path and eventually get back on it, but we all have a path. So it was quite a few years later that I could finally go, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is where I'm at. And Agape, I have not stopped ever since. I have given almost 100 interviews. As I said earlier, I'm finally launching my own podcast after everybody keeps saying, Christine, do you have a podcast? No, you need to start your own. You need to start your own podcast. You really need to start your own podcast, Christine. Okay. Again, there's the universe throwing those paths down those steps. And here I am. But yeah, it took some time. It took a while. I got off the path, but here I am back on it. And I haven't looked back. I absolutely love what I do. I love seeing a woman, when my clients get that moment of, oh man, I didn't see that, or that's where that came from, or whatever the case may be. But when they go, oh my God, that's, yeah, yeah, I get it now. Yeah, yeah. Christine, I'm sassy. I'm like, yeah, you are.
So let's talk a little bit about that journey. Because you said, did you answer me on what clicked for you? What made you stand your guard?
It was doing that podcast. That was the click. That was the shift.
Oh,
That was when,
that happened while he was gone? You did your first podcast while he was gone?
oh, it was well after my very first, he left, he was gone in 2018. I moved, came up to Tennessee, did the podcast, the very first one in 2021. And yeah, here I am. So yeah, I don't think about him. I don't look back on any of that. A lot, I've actually been asked if I have any sympathy for him. And I went, the man is over 60 years old. If he doesn't know the wrong that he's doing at this age, I can't help him. If he should, I used to say if he showed up at my door, whichever door it is, okay. If he tracked me down, and I'm all over the internet, okay. If he wanted to, he could find me. I used to say if he showed up at my door, I'd probably just hook him and watch his ass fall on the ground. Okay, I used to say that. Now it's, and of course I would offer my hand and say, get up, brush him off. Okay, now turn around and go back. Okay. But I don't condone violence. I can't. It's everything that I don't stand for that. So I can't condone violence. So if he showed up at my door, I would probably go, sorry, honey, wrong door. Bye. You know? So yes, but that was my point. I get asked all kinds of questions along those lines. Do I feel sorry for him? Do I miss him? Used to. Again, remember, we fell in love with this person. We married this person. There was a connection there. If he came back into my life, nah, I would be nice. I would be polite. I would be gracious because that's the person I am. And I would say, sorry, that train's already gone. That boat sailed. You ain't coming back. Not having it. Not happening.
Good for you. Good for you.
Thank
Since
you.
that moment that you stood your ground and said no when you couldn't
Yes.
walk into that door.
Yep.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's right. And that just goes to show that there is a way. You'll make a way. You'll figure it out. It's when we think that we're stuck, it's just us convincing ourselves that we're stuck. Nobody, in my personal opinion, is to that degree stuck. You will find a way. You deserve it. You have the right to live your way, free of harm, free of abuse,
Yes.
independently. You will figure it out. If I've had to work 2 jobs, go to school, there's so many things that you do to make it work.
Yes.
And most of the time, the fear is of the independence, of the financial independence. You know,
Yes.
not so much the fear of, I don't know, of
No,
like verbal or physical. Like it's the means to do what you need to do. Because if you had
yes.
that, it would reduce a lot of fear from leaving.
Exactly. Exactly. And I was there, and not just once. We talk about it because we're limited on time. Okay. We talk about it like it's a once thing, but it's a daily fight. It's a daily and a good fight. Okay. It's a fight that you want to fight. It's a value. It's a moral that you now encompass that, but it does not happen overnight. And it's not a one and done kind of thing. There are days that even after all of that I still went through, am I good enough? Am I doing the right thing? Am I worthy? As for as sassy as I am, there are still days, even as of today and this week and probably next week, that I will question. And I'll go, you know what? Hang on a second, Christine. Take a breath, take a step back, turn around, look at how far you've come. That road ahead is so much better than what was behind you. You got this. You got this. We have, as women,
wait, hold on. I want to tell you that when you say that to yourself, I'm asking you to please, when you say that to yourself, say that to yourself looking in the mirror.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. There's such a thing called mirror neurons. It's so interesting.
Yes.
Something about it. So please,
Yes.
when you say that to yourself on the daily, say it to yourself.
Yes, I do. I have to look in that mirror because there, I don't know if you can see, I've got a scar up here that basically I hit. Okay. So my head was shoved into a concrete countertop, 9 stitches up here. Okay. So I see it every day. I see that scar every day. I know it's there, but I can either live when it happened or I can look at it and go, look at how beautiful you are because of that. Look at the person you've become because of that. Look at how far you've come in spite of that.
That's right. That's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I say you can move a million times, but you live in your head. So if you are indeed living in your head the right way, you will also carry yourself and conduct yourself in that same way. Being able to intercept those negative comments and that inner critic that has you convinced of things that are untrue about yourself, intercepting that and giving yourself that constant reminder of exactly how far you have come. It is the beauty, it is the strength, it is the wisdom, and that is the
Yes.
post-traumatic growth. And it doesn't, like you said earlier, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes consistency.
Yes.
It takes 6 to 12 months to break a bad habit. It takes 28 days to 45 to create a new one. Which one would you rather focus on? Working on this negative one that takes twice, 3 times, 4 times as long? Seriously. So you just stay positive with yourself, be your biggest cheerleader. The world out there does not want to see you doing better than them. They're fine seeing you do good, but seeing you doing better than them is a little iffy, no matter what level you're on. So
Exactly.
you be your biggest fan in your head, cheering yourself on like you would your best friend or your child or whoever it is that you love dearly, is the same exact way that you do need to speak to yourself.
Yes. I agree 100%. I coach my girls on that, my women on that. Absolutely. You
Yeah,
have to. It's part of an excuse. I'm moving. Sorry for the darkness. Moving through the house.
no problem.
So
Yeah, I do the same thing. I have classes and programs and do the same thing. And we should have another conversation about triggers because, yeah,
yes.
we should have another conversation about triggers because it's on both sides. When we see the flags, we're not sure if there are flags, there are flags. There's a lot that we go through the transformation to the
Yes.
post-traumatic growth, to the resilience, to the outcome that we are at to serve and give back to other people, encourage, empower, and give that support.
Yeah. And triggers happen even years after you leave the abuse.
Oh
Okay.
my
And I
God.
can attest to that one, girl.
Yes, years. You smell the
Yes.
cologne from years ago and you
Yes.
be triggered. Yeah.
My biggest one that I had to two of them was door slamming and when I saw a vehicle that looked like his. Those were
Mm-hmm.
the two biggest the last, and that's within the last year that I've had to. I actually, when I saw a vehicle that I lost my breath, like my heart sank, and I had to turn around, go home, and go, breathe, Christine, breathe. And I went through my meditation. I ended up calling my spiritual coach, and I said, help me through this because this one hit hard and I wasn't even and that's probably why it hit so hard is because you're going along in life and everything's fine and hunky dory, and all of a sudden, bam, you get smacked with this trigger you weren't expecting. Yes.
Oh my gosh, I give you so much
Oh,
acknowledgement and love and positive vibes and encouragement and blessings. And oh my gosh, I'm so happy that we connected finally
me
after so
too.
long.
I know, right? And I'm sorry for the impromptu. My hair needs cut and I got no makeup on. I'm taking care of my grandkids all day today. Hey, but that's why I say I was reminded the other day from a very good friend of mine. He said, that's why you're so thriving, Christine, because no matter what you think is negative or you turn it into a positive. And I was like, You're right. That's exactly what I do. Absolutely. And if
Yeah.
I can do it at my age, and I just turned 58 years old this year, okay? So if I can do it, it can be done. It can be accomplished. We just have to put our minds to it.
Absolutely. And you need to know that you're ready and you want it. You have to be committed
Yes.
to yourself. It's not about anybody else. It really
Right.
truly is being committed to yourself to live the
Yes.
life that you deserve, that you envision,
Yes.
that you dream of. You can do it. Yes, absolutely. So I'm so happy that you decided to do an impromptu, and yes, I'll be seeing you this Saturday, and I will also look forward to being on your podcast.
Oh, I know, right? Thank you. Thank you. I can't wait. Yay.
So tell people where they can find you.
All right. So like I'm on, it's again, maybe I didn't say it. I don't know. The podcast name is Talking Sassy, Sassi, about abuse, amplifying women's voices, I'm on every platform possible. You can find me. Girl, you just put in Talking Sassy. It's the only one. Sassy's the only one out there. I am the owner of Sassy. I can be on every platform possible except Apple, but I'm working on that. I will get there.
Yep. Same here. Confronting domestic violence, and I think we're having the same issue with.
Exactly.
All right.
Agape, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you so much for this. I love it. I know it's late. It's 8:15 my time. Thank you so much for this. Was absolutely beautiful and wonderful. Good night, sweetie. That's my granddaughter in the background. She's getting ready for night. So, nah. Thank you. This was awesome. Thank you. Let's stay in touch. Let's keep tackling this one woman at a time. Ruffle some feathers and blow some minds.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you to leave a wounds to wisdom statement.
Okay, now?
Yep, right now. Johnny on the spot, baby.
Wounds to wisdom. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Girlfriend, if the gunshot wound to the head isn't to where I am today, if that isn't a statement, I don't know what is. How's that?
Yeah, please don't let it get that far. You will see signs well before that.
Yes. That's one of the things, real quick, that's one of the things that I try and teach, and I've said this probably 1,000 times. There are 3 words in the English language that are the hardest for us to say, but they will make such an impact if you can say them. And they are, I need help. You got it, girl. You know it.
Yeah. So true. So true.
Yes.
Do not be ashamed. We got you.
No. Exactly. Yeah. Oh, honey, thank you. Again, thank you from the bottom of my heart, girl.
Thank you.
You got it. I love you, honey. We'll talk again and I'll see you Saturday.
Yes, you will. Love you back.
Confronting Domestic Violence is a 501c3. All contributions, volunteers, and sponsorships are welcomed. It takes a community to make a difference. Nobody should suffer alone. Please scan the QR code.